You're listening to the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Jim, for our next topic, let's talk about the Ashes as a whole, but also look back on this Ashes series in Australia that's just finished, and obviously the next Ashes, which is next year. Can you believe it? It comes around pretty quickly when a series finishes in Australia, and then the next one starts in England. But you're wearing a very interesting shirt, Jim. So would you like to show everyone that shirt?
Can you see it?
We can see it a bit. There we go.
You got it?
You want to tell people what it is, Jim?
How's that? Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay. Baz Bollocks. It's a T-shirt that came out of the Ashes series because a certain bloke from the ABC was doing commentary on the BBC, and when asked by Michael Vaughan what he thought of Bazball, his reply was, "I don't think it's Bazball, it's Baz Bollocks." So, and that's where it started, and the supporters of the Barmy Army were producing all these T-shirts, just picking up on Baz something or other or whatever, and they created this one as a result of that a very forthright remark about how that person saw what was going on. So,
Yes.
and so my wife actually found this online, as she always does. She's an Amazonian, and she found this, and here it is.
Yeah, well, I think,
It's a bit of fun, a bit more fun in the
Yes.
game, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, no, it is. It's always good to have a bit of a laugh. But
Yeah.
I thought we'd talk about, first of all, Jim, your memories with Ashes cricket. Because as a fan and a broadcaster, you've seen many Ashes series over your long career. And obviously before this series, you did something we call the Middlemass, looking back at your memorable Ashes moments, which
Yeah, there's lots of those.
Many significant moments in Ashes cricket. But what does it mean to you, Jim, when you hear the word Ashes cricket? What does it mean to you? And why is this series that's been going on for nearly 150 years been so highly regarded still as the number one rivalry and series that people want to watch in cricket?
It's hard to beat history. I mean, the history and tradition goes back to 1877, and there have been some memorable contests. There's been a lot, and there's a lot of emotion tied up with a whole lot of it, with the mother country playing against the colonies originally, and this has been reinforced over a period of time by the media to a large extent in building it up as the principal sporting event between Great Britain or England and Australia. And it's been, powerfully sustained over a long period of time with some really dramatic series. So as long as that happens, and as long as there's a bit of coming and going in terms of who's doing well, you'd have to say at the moment in Australia, England is struggling or have been to compete successfully, but you have to remember the other side of it, that Australia haven't beaten England in England since 2001. So that kind of history compels you to be part of something that is special. And the characters that are involved, the quality of the contests, the controversies like Bodyline going back, this all adds up to the flavour of the Ashes, which makes it so enjoyable. Also, particularly for us, when we play in England, the timing couldn't be better. The game starts about 8 o'clock at night in the eastern states and goes through into the early hours. In England, it's a bit tougher. They have to get up at 1 in the morning to follow the games in Australia. So they'll probably have more pink ball tests in due course because of that. But yeah, I think this has been a sporting series that's transcended almost everything else that goes on in the world of team sport, particularly with Australia and England involved. So, given its deep history, the Victor Trumper, W.G. Grace, Bradman, Warren, Lilly, and so on. We keep coming up with personalities like Botham in England, of course, that give it a kind of magnetism. So as long as that's happening, it will continue.
Yes, definitely. This series, Jim, in Australia that's just recently concluded. You went around the country on ABC, you're covering every test from Perth to the last test in Sydney. 4-1, pretty fair result given how both teams played. Australia didn't really have their first 11, really. They had no Cummins for 4 tests. He only played 1 in Adelaide and did very well. Hazelwood didn't play at all. Lyon played 2, then got injured. And Smith missed out a test in Adelaide because of vertigo. But obviously Travis Head, Mitchell Starc, Alex Carey were the standouts for Australia, and Australia just did everything better. They batted, bowled, and fielded better than England, won key moments. And whereas with England, all the hype before the series, Jim, before that first test in Perth, and obviously their fast bowling attack and all that stuff, and Bazball, and sort of was really for nothing, really, and probably shown their frailties. Quite simply, they weren't good enough, and they didn't bat well, didn't bowl well, didn't field well. Their fielding was atrocious in this series. They dropped too many catches in Brisbane in that second test, and I suppose there's some positives. They won a test in Melbourne on that bit of a lottery of a pitch that went for 2 days, and Jacob Bethel's innings in Sydney was pretty good for a young man at 22. So what are your thoughts on this series, Jim? Were you not to be expected that Australia won the way they did, or do you think England could have played a lot better than they shown, but that didn't turn out to be the case?
They were hugely disappointing. Lack of preparation, lack of an understanding about what was required to do well in Australia. Bazball, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's no doubt that recently England have played more exhilarating and attractive cricket than before when Joe Root was captain, and that's fine. But anyone if they bothered to study the history of playing in Australia, knows that you need a certain type of preparation to make sure you can score runs on bouncier pitches, even if you have to adjust your game perhaps to do that. Joe Root capable enough of doing that, but the rest for a mindset through McCullum, who seems to think that you can just play the way he played everywhere and you get away with it. But even when he was playing for New Zealand, they didn't do much against Australia. Now, very disappointing. They perhaps had more faith in the quality of their bowling than it turned out, because their 2 super quick bowlers, Archer and Wood, really didn't shape up for more than a moment. Wood hardly at all, and Archer, as he's tended to do, is a bit fragile, emotionally, physically, whatever it might be. And I think they got a few things wrong, but essentially lack of preparation. And once in any 5-test series you've lost the first 2 tests, it's pretty hard to come back. Most teams don't, and they didn't. And the other side of it was, although Australia never played their strongest 11, Mitchell Starc was just outstanding. I think he bowled as well, if not better, in this series than he's ever bowled. And he was able, with his fitness, he was able to sustain a 140 plus pace all the time. And he hasn't done that a lot during his career, because he hasn't been as fit as he appears to be as a 35-year-old. And around him, Boland and at times Nisa did their bit. The batting was a bit hit and miss outside of Carey and Travis Head and maybe Smith. So Australia's certainly looking a bit more vulnerable, and the series could have been a lot more entertaining and competitive if England had turned up, as I call it. They don't turn up often enough in Australia. They've only won 4 series here since the war, so they need to really look seriously at the way they're going about selecting and preparing their teams if they're to improve when they come back here in a few years' time.
Yeah, obviously they're going to do a review and all that stuff. There's always a review with England when they lose in Australia, Jim, isn't it? I don't think you
We've
need
had
to.
our share of reviews too.
Yes,
The
that's
Argus
true.
report, famously,
Yes,
yes.
yes, as you mentioned in your book. Um, um, but do you see Stokes, McCullum, Key keeping their jobs in terms of captain, coach, and director of cricket?
Well, what are the alternatives? I don't know what the alternatives are. Yeah, they may. In the short term, they will, because obviously McCullum's coach of the white ball team as well. Whether that continues into the next English summer, I would have thought Rob Key be in a bit of danger. Maybe McCullum. I don't know about Stokes. They need Stokes, and he's probably only got another year or two to go before his body gives up on him. But yeah, I suppose there's a saying in life that you don't change things unless you can improve them, and that may be forced upon them by this result in Australia, and they'll have so many people punching strongly from the county system and whatever, saying you've got to make changes. So yeah, I would have thought Rob Key's the one who could be in trouble, and perhaps someone like Alex Stewart may be encouraged if he wants it to take over.
Yeah, definitely. But I think everyone just felt a bit disappointed, Jim, given that we had 2-day test matches in this series twice.
Yep.
And only 2 test matches that went into 5 days. That was Adelaide and Sydney. And then obviously Brisbane went for 4 days in that day-night test. Do you think that people should expect more of the same with Ashes series in Australia in the near future? If England keep playing this way, it's going to be the same results? Or do you think if they change things up, it will be a lot different rather than what we've seen going back to 2013-14 when they've lost every series since?
Next time England come, they'll be a bit better prepared, organised, and play a bit more cricket around the test series, certainly before the first test. And by then, we could be completely different. I don't know how strong we'll be. You'd reckon there'd be 3 or 4 new players coming into the side. So, yeah, it's a bit hard to speculate on what will happen in a couple of years' time. But whatever it is, let's hope it's high quality, and the conditions that we're playing under are better balanced in terms of the contest between bat and ball.
Yes, well, let's hope that's the case. The next series next year, Jim, obviously it's coming around pretty quickly, Ashes series these days, in England. And that's going to be an interesting series, given that Australia didn't win in 2023. You were over there, and a lot happened in that series where Bairstow and Carey incident at Lords and the stumping and all the reaction from that. And they came back from 2-0 down to draw the series at 2-2. If it wasn't for rain in Manchester, and Australia probably got away with one there. They're pretty determined, this Australian team, to finally tick it off. And as you said before, Jim, not since 2001, since Steve Waugh's team won a series in England. And this England team playing at home, they would like to do a lot better. And we have no test matches at Old Trafford or Headingley for this series coming up next year. And Southampton is going to be the newest Ashes venue. How do you see that going, Jim, next year's series? Do you think that it's going to be more competitive? They usually are in England, Ashes series these days.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be, but it's hard to put your it's hard to analyse this without knowing who's going to play. And the fact is, Australia's playing South Africa later this year, which is an important series. Then they go to India next year before the Ashes. So, and we've got that sesquicentenary game here. It's a bit hard to evaluate it without knowing who's going to play. But I would have thought people like Pat Cummins, provided he's still playing, would want very much, along with a number of other players, if they're still playing, even Steve Smith, to win in England. So there's that kind of incentive. But yeah, look, I'm not sure at this point who'll survive this Ashes campaign for the next one.
Yeah. Well, it will be interesting to see what happens there, Jim. But as we can't predict the future, so we have to wait until then, which is only a matter of months before the circus of Ashes cricket begins again. But I think everyone's just glad that this series is over and can recover and rest and get ready for the next series in a year's time. So yeah, good to hear your thoughts on Ashes cricket there, Jim. This series and obviously next year's series, but also Ashes cricket as a whole as well. Hi everyone. Hope you enjoyed hearing Jim and I discuss the Ashes.